All right, everyone, we'll get started here momentarily. I'm going to turn the sound off on my phone. I'm waiting for a phone call, but we'll just have to postpone that. And I'll get the TikTok folks going here, and then we will be ready to go. So Beryl has officially been reclassified now as a post-tropical cyclone, which means it has basically lost tropical characteristics. It's more of like your conventional cyclonic low pressure system now. And that's what we were expecting. This is not going to be a hurricane coming to Michigan, but, you know. Okay, just got to add a title to this, and we will be ready to go. And please feel free to ask questions. I'll get to answering them as usual. Notice I don't have the red lights on in the background today. We got the raindrop lights because really what we're tracking is just going to be some really heavy rain going on. So nothing too crazy. Okay, apparently that was too long. Oh, for real? It broke off? Cool. Sorry, struggle bus, guys. Okay, here we go. What do you say we get rid of these words? Okay, and I do have a Patreon, so quick plug. I will be doing a lot of forecast blogging, climate stuff up there. So there's different plans. 99 cents a month is where it starts for your basic forecast data. And then if you want to add climate information, which a lot of us should because it's dominating everything we're doing right now, please feel free to subscribe to that. And then you can even get into like event planning. I've done wedding forecasts for a lot of friends before, so figured, hey, slap a price on that. You can do that as well. Okay, so let's start off by tracking where it is now. There we go. Hopefully my screen's clear enough. All right. So we are going to start to see this impact us here pretty shortly. Might have to go into settings really quick and turn nearest radar site on. I can figure out where to do that. Pro, color palettes, radar scope. I thought it was like right here. Maybe it's not in the desktop version. Well, all right. Okay, so we're going to go down to the radar sites in Kentucky really quick. So this is the remnants of Beryl already creeping up into Illinois and Indiana. They're going to have some serious rain down there too. Could be looking at a little bit of flooding. So right now, this doesn't look like anything too crazy. And really, we're going to have tropical moisture. We've had days of heavy rain before. The difference here is it's just going to be heavier rain over a larger area. So when we have thunderstorms, obviously those are a little more localized. When you get to those 3-4 inch totals, usually it's like, a couple weather stations show that while everyone else is, much lower. This time I think we're going to have a pretty good swath of probably the 3-inch range coming on through for a good part of us. And then generally everyone else about 1 to 3 inches of rain. So I'm not anticipating really anything more than some minor, maybe moderate flooding where a bunch of rivers converge into some larger rivers. But for the most part, we got a few things working for us here. The crops are coming along great. Corn can drink up a ton of water, like a ton of water. Trees, plants, they can drink a ton of water as well. So that'll naturally kind of soak some up. You got some soaking into the ground. Some areas have had a lot of rain, others have not. So, for the most part, we should do a decent amount of absorption. And then, of course, the plants drinking it up as well. So what's left running into the rivers and streams will be a decent amount because, again, we've had some good rains coming on through. But I don't anticipate it being like this massive, like mega disaster like some people are saying. I'm not going to be comparing this to flash flooding events of years past because it's just not the same thing. Thunderstorms drop inches and inches, sometimes 6-8 inches of rain in like 2 hours. This is going to be over the course of like 36 hours, much more spread out. Again, not anticipating the like catastrophic nature that I've been seeing posted, unfortunately. Okay, so that's where it is now, and again, headed up into Michigan itself. Let's see if I can get this going again. All right, so we'll get into that, but first I want to drought.gov. So we got to look at a bunch of different things when we're forecasting rain. And first and foremost is, what does the ground look like? Can we absorb any of it? What's going on? So that's what I was talking about with the soil moisture, and this will allow me to explain it a lot better. Okay. I don't know if I can make this full screen or not. We might just have to deal with this. We'll just keep zooming in and hopefully everyone can see everything. Okay, so here's our fair state of Michigan and surrounding areas, and we're talking about soil moisture down to 100 centimeters. So, you divide that by like 2.5 centimeters in an inch. Okay, we're talking like 4 feet down, right? So notice we do have some yellows and some reds showing up here. Otherwise, we have a lot of gray. So that's down into the lower percentiles, meaning it's dry, basically. So think of yellows and oranges and reds as dry, and then greens and blues as wet. The blue is up to 100% soil moisture. So blue is where we're not going to do much absorbing of anything, which is good that that's up north because we're not expecting the heavy rain to go any further north than like US 10. So most of the areas that are going to be looking at this heavy rain have some drier soil. So let's go down to just the 20 centimeter soil moisture. So notice the thumb. Okay, cool. We've had a lot of thunderstorm activity in the thumb lately. Some very heavy thunderstorms. Lansing also, got a little bit of green going on there. But for the most part, a lot of this is kind of in the normal range for soil moisture right now. So, that tells me that yes, we can absorb some. Will we absorb all of it? No, absolutely not. But the ground is not saturated in the areas that are gray. So that would be Detroit, most of around Flint, Grand Rapids, and Lansing itself is a little bit on the wetter side. It's not maxed out, but that's where we'll see more runoff into the rivers versus the areas that are in gray. And then you got the root zone soil moisture, and again, notice how that is largely up north as well. So basically what I'm saying here is we can handle some rain. Will we handle 3-4 inches of it? Probably not. We'll see some water rising, and we'll see this turn blue to be maxed out with the soil moisture. So that's one thing that I'm keeping an eye on here as well. Right now, the satellite picture looks very pretty, as you can tell. There's Beryl. That is Beryl right there, right in the middle. It's like the only thing going on now. You got massive record-breaking heat in the west. You've got some heat in the east. Unfortunately, there's a lot of heat in Houston, where 2.3 million people are without power. But for the most part, the hurricane is like the hurricane remnants, the post-tropical cyclone is the only thing going on. And there it is looping. I can go pretty far back, too. It'll just take a second to load here, but or not. Going pretty quick. So there's Beryl right now, and again, there's still some areas down to the south here where you can see there's some thunderstorm development most likely going to take place. But that was the sun rising right there, that line, by the way. So now it's daytime, and the storm is chugging off to the northeast. The cloud cover that we are seeing overhead is already the cloud cover from Beryl. And yes, I can get closer, so we can go into sub-regional sectors here, look at Michigan much closer. And there, it's going to put a loop on it for us, but we don't need to go back super far. So let's go back to this. Yeah, so these are already the clouds from Beryl streaming up into the state of Michigan. Thanks, everyone. I appreciate you watching and staying with me since I'm no longer in television news. So I appreciate your support. Let's see, we've got some comments going down here. Tornadoes will be down south into Ohio, and I will actually go in and cover that here. Just want to make sure this is all running so we can close these to save on some RAM. Okay, Storm Prediction Center. Although, you know what? I think there's a different one that's a little more friendly here. So this is the tornado area, and this is going to be down into Indiana, as well as Illinois and Kentucky. A little bit into Ohio as well, but basically into Indiana here. We have up to an enhanced risk, which is 3 out of 5. The tornado risk specifically, as you can see, is centered over southern Indiana, northern Kentucky, and southern Illinois. And when you get into the yellows, that's a pretty high risk, so we'll have to watch out for some tornadoes from Evansville, and then just south of Bloomington, Indianapolis will be included in that as well, and also Louisville, Kentucky, as well as Cincinnati. So lots of big cities here have the potential for tornadoes today, but this does not include Michigan, and we are not concerned about tornadoes coming into Michigan. We're going to be on the wrong side of this thing. We'll be on the northern side of it as it comes on through. Now, other than that, we also are issued risks called excessive rainfall forecast. And we are under a slight risk for the rest of today as well as tomorrow for Beryl coming on through. Let's see if I can interact and maybe zoom in a little bit on this. There we go. Okay. So as you can see here, I know you're used to seeing these for severe storms. That's when we use it a lot, but I do want to highlight the fact that we can also use these for excessive rainfall outlook, and this is when rainfall could exceed flash flood guidance within 25 miles of a point. So wherever you are, think about it like a piece of pizza where it's 25 miles of the outer crust all around you. You're in the dead center with that little like white table looking thing, right? That means that somewhere within 25 miles of you, there's at least a 15% chance of flash flooding. And this would be especially likely in more urban areas where you can have some street flooding, especially when we have winds that could be gusting like 35, 40 miles per hour, and all the storm damage that we've had lately. You know, there's a lot of the leaves and sticks and like clumps of leaves and twigs on the ground. So it's really important if you live in a neighborhood that's prone to street flooding that you get out and you make sure that those storm drains are cleared, because as soon as those leaves go over those drains, they can act like, you know, cork in it. So this would really prevent urban flooding if people are out there making sure that the debris and the side streets and stuff is kind of clear. So this is, again, showing the possibility of flash flooding. And that would be primarily along and south of, what, M46, it looks like, US 10, M46. There's going to be a pretty sharp gradient in the precip totals as well, so we can go into that. Let's go to models. We can start off with our good old friend, the European model. And we've got to log in. There we go, that was quick. Okay. And we'll go to Michigan. All right. First and foremost, this is going to show the basically simulated radar over a couple of hours. So this is for 1 hour, the precip rate. We could easily be 1/2 inch to 1 inch per hour with the precip rate, and this is centered on 2 o'clock in the morning tonight. So basically, Lansing to Kalamazoo, Flint, even the Detroit Metro has a decent possibility of seeing rainfall totals that could be 1/2 inch up to maybe even 1 inch per hour in some cases. And we've seen that down to the south, about 1 inch per hour. This is also going to be unique because it is interacting with a front. So that front can cause a little more rain to be kind of cleared out. So there's going to be, we got like a little bit of a stationary front going on through the state. This will kind of kick it out and push it around, but swings on through. And also just the difference between the moist and the drier, cooler air mass to the north, you can get what we call a deformation band, and that would cause some additional rainfall as well. So again, that now we're looking at 5 o'clock in the morning, Lansing, Jackson, Mount Pleasant, Saginaw, Flint, Detroit, over towards the thumb as well. And notice how it does lighten up, but some areas stay pretty heavy. This is looking at 11 o'clock in the morning now, and it doesn't really start to clear out until tomorrow around dinner time. So, you know, initially it is sped up a little bit, so it gets out of here nice and quick, but we will have a sizable amount of rain possible. Now, this is just from the European model for QPF here, which is called basically quantitative precipitation forecast. Pretty solid stretch of anywhere from 2 to 3 inches possible. Some models are spitting out a lot more, but some models have these biases. They don't know how to handle certain things. I do think that we'll have isolated areas that maybe pop over the 4-inch mark, but largely this is a pretty good example. And notice how fast it tapers off. So like Grand Rapids, you know, we're talking 1 inch, 1/2 of an inch, 3/4 of an inch, and then literally, you know, an hour's drive to the southeast, and you're looking at like 3 inches. So it is going to be a definite zone across areas from Kalamazoo, Lansing, maybe Saginaw, but more likely Flint, Jackson, Detroit, and into the thumb, where we'll see some of those heaviest rain totals coming on down. In terms of temperature, it is going to be a little cooler out, but it's not going to feel very cold because there's just a lot of moisture in the air. So think of it as being pretty tropical. As you can see today, we'll have temperatures spike up into the 80s in some cases, but it'll be cooler south because that's where the rain comes in first. And the whole time this is coming down overnight tonight, you know, we're still in the upper 60s to about 70, so it's going to feel thick. It's going to feel tropical. Now, Wednesday, as you can see in the afternoon tomorrow, we have a quick bump up into the lower 70s, but it's going to be very, very warm out there with all the humidity in the air. And then once it passes, we're right back into the 80s, and we're potentially talking about another heat wave coming our way a little bit further down the road. Now we can talk about wind as well, if I have access to that on here. Surface. Wind gust. There we are. Okay. So winds, you know, it's something that it's not, let's just say we've had it before. You know, I'm not too concerned about gusts of 30, 35 miles per hour, maybe a few of them up to 40. The only thing I would really imagine happening here is if the ground is super soggy, super saturated, maybe a couple of trees with some shallow root systems, like some of those pine trees, you know, kind of come down or knock over. But I think that would be really, really the exception rather than the rule. I think a few isolated power outages will be possible, but I'm not anticipating anything super widespread, and hopefully that means that if there are any, they'll be restored rather quickly. So, yeah. There is a possibility of tornadoes in Ohio, yes. Not a flood warning, we have a flood watch in effect. So that's what this is here. So the dark green is a flood watch, and that would definitely be for Beryl coming on through. And again, all of our rivers are looking pretty good right now. Soil moisture is good right now. So flooding is definitely possible, but I just don't see it being anything super, super major. A little bit of flash flooding, especially in urban areas, is definitely possible as well. Or if we have a very heavy band hang out for a while. And that's what hurricanes are, remnants of hurricanes. You have bands, right? And those bands can be really heavy. Even the outer bands can be really, really heavy as they interact with some warmer air with better thermodynamics for some convection and stuff like that. Let's see if I have any comments here. Yeah, so let's get into timing about when things will actually start. We'll go to a more high definition model here for that. I want to go back to Michigan. So again, Ohio and Indiana do have the possibility for tornadoes today, not Michigan. Michigan does not have that possibility for tornadoes. Composite reflexivity. There we go. Okay. So here you see some thunderstorm development. This is actually from the outer bands of Beryl, and this is centered at 5 p.m. tonight. So anywhere along I-94, even up to Lansing, does have the possibility, and into Detroit too. Even Grand Rapids, a couple thunderstorms could develop at 5 p.m. This is at 8 p.m. Notice they're just kind of hanging out over the same spots, and this is where the heavy rain totals could start. Now the actual bands like within the hurricane remnants right here, as you can see, there is some banding starting to form. Oops. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that could do that. I just touched the screen and I got a sounding. Oh, that's cool. Now how do I get out of it? I don't want it anymore. There we go. Anyway, that was cool. I didn't know I could touch it and get a sounding. I gotta touch it one more time. Oh, that's cool. First of all, this is a vertical profile in the atmosphere. So the red and the green lines, the red is temperature and the green is dew point, so moisture. When the red and the green are together, that means that it's like super saturated, like it can't hold any more water. Basically, when it's foggy outside, the red and the green lines are touching because the air can't hold any more water, right? That's why it's foggy outside. Look how high up in the atmosphere that goes. If you can read those little red numbers, I mean, we're like almost totally saturated through like 11 kilometers up. That is a lot of moisture, and that's why PWATs are so high. PWAT means precipitable water, and that's how much water can come out of a column of air in the atmosphere. And it should tell me PWAT is over 2 inches, so that's a lot. That's like twice as much as normal. So there's a lot of moisture with this storm. Okay, anyway, sorry, I got distracted because I touched the screen and something cool happened. So here we go. This is at 2 o'clock in the morning. Those bands are really coming on through. Very heavy out there for 5 o'clock in the morning. And again, this is the HRRR, stands for High Resolution Rapid Refresh, or as meteorologists call it, the HRR, because it's easier to say. But notice we have a lot of rain coming down, a lot of convective rain coming down, which is why you see blotches of red, indicates more convective storms, and those could have some very, very heavy downpours coming on through. So a lot of us are driving to work in the morning around 7 to 8 o'clock. So here's 7 o'clock in the morning. We could have pretty intense banding going through all of our major cities, all of our major roadways for the morning drive on Wednesday. Stays very heavy. Detroit might get a little bit of a break, but I think Lansing, Jackson, and Kalamazoo are going to be the bullseye cities for the heaviest rain totals. So this is at 12 p.m. This is at noon tomorrow. We still have very heavy rain coming down. Now this is 6 p.m. So we still have rain coming down for the evening drive as well. Maybe a couple thunderstorms popping up around the straits, but notice, we still have very heavy rainfall coming through. And it finally starts to make its way out totally by late tomorrow night. Maybe not even until Thursday morning for areas into the thumb. Now, Not sure if this is going to go crazy or anything, but we'll see. Yeah, this one's throwing out way too much moisture, I think. I'm not going to buy into 6 inches. I think some isolated areas will get a lot, but we'll generally say, you know, these 1 to 3 inch range is really good for a forecast, with isolated areas getting 3 to 5 inches of rain. So flooding possible, yes, absolutely. But again, a couple things going for us. You know, if this was like spring or fall when the plants are dormant or the leaves are coming down, the corn turns brown. So this is good that all the plants are alive, that the corn is rather mature, to be honest. Knee high by the 4th of July, I think we blew past that. Geez, I'm talking like a Michigander. I saw some corn, like 6 feet tall, and that drinks up a lot of moisture out of the ground. All of it, no, absolutely not. But a lot of it, yes. So we have a lot of agriculture across parts of the state where this is going to fall. Again, we will see standing water in fields, but hopefully for the most part, we can drink a lot of this up, gobble it up, and avoid the worst case scenario for sure. Let's see. Welcome to TikTok Live. And yeah, it is going to be a little windy. I can go back to the wind forecast on here for sure. Let's scroll to 11 a.m. Oops. Or just do whatever you want. Why not? Okay. So it's not going to be too windy where the center of Beryl passes. The center of Beryl is what you see right here. So winds kind of coming off Lake Erie a little bit into Detroit, but the heaviest winds out of the northeast, anywhere north of 96 and west of 127. So Flint, the Thumb, Saginaw Bay, there will likely be some water rises on the Saginaw Bay as we really funnel the winds up the Saginaw Bay. And that usually happens when we have any storm system like this, but usually more so in the fall, right? So the water in the fall, especially at the tidal gauge near the mouth of the Saginaw River, we can see like a 2 or 3 foot rise sometimes. And that could be possible here as well. But anyway, these winds are showing, we're like 20, 22 knots out on the Saginaw Bay, up to 30 knots. So yeah, again, we're talking sustained wind speeds, 15 to 25 miles per hour, gusting to 35, maybe 40. So it really isn't the end of the world in terms of winds, but I do think they will be just high enough to cause a few sporadic power outages. This does show me the wind gust as well. And, this particular model is going a few gusts in the 40 mile per hour range. This is definitely one of the more bullish models. It's been consistently bullish with some higher gusts. Now, if we do get the higher gusts, we will be talking some more power outages possible. But we'll see how some of the other models pick up on that as it gets just a little bit closer. You can look at the NAM, just to double check. The NAM's also going 40, 45 miles per hour. So again, we've had these before. Usually a special weather statement for a thunderstorm is issued for 40 to 50 mile per hour winds because severe thunderstorms are about 60 miles per hour. So this is significantly below that. And again, we're not expecting a tropical storm to hit. We're not expecting a hurricane to hit. This is basically a strong fall time system in terms of wind speeds coming our way. With winds, again, gusting 40, 45 miles per hour, maybe. But notice the sharp cutoff down to the south here. Detroit, you're probably not going to see the winds that we'll see in Lansing and Flint. Think of yourself as kind of being in the eye of what is left of Beryl. The eye of the remnants of the hurricane. Kind of cool there. And I can zoom out. We got some friends joining from out of state. So let's go to a regional view. Yeah, so you can kind of see the eye of Beryl there going over Toledo and Detroit. Kind of cool, huh? Well, not like an eye. It's not going to be a hurricane, but it's the center of the low pressure. We see the same thing with fall storms and winter storms. I'm not trying to get anyone riled up. We always see the donut shape. The center of the storm is always not windy. Always. It's just cool to see this. That's it. No tornado chances in Michigan. Nope. I do want to show total QPF here before I switch out and look at something else. So this is showing the heaviest rains going through Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and Michigan. Indiana, Ohio, much less, so not many flooding concerns down there. And that shows up well in the flood watches that were issued, the hazards. So notice the flood watches are confined to that band of heavy rain. That's it. Everyone else is looking pretty okay. Back over to the severe potential here. The tornado threat is not for Michigan. It is much further down to the south. This is the tornado threat specifically. Again, not Michigan, nowhere near Michigan. Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Kentucky have the best possibilities for these tornadoes to come down. I just showed the flood watch. We are not expecting... There is no flood warning right now in Michigan. This is a flood watch. The flood watch is issued for the heavy rain coming through. We do not have flooding right now. I can pull up the river gauges and everything. So the square is just the forecast, which I can click on. Sycamore Creek near Holt. The forecast goes up into action stage. That's not even the minor flooding in Holt. Jackson, the Grand River in Jackson, also the forecast is to peak up into action, not even minor flood stage. And again, this could change based on how much rain falls, but this is the forecast as of now with the information we have. Portage River near Vicksburg might touch minor flooding stage. And St. Joseph River over by Niles is also going to be in the action stage, not even minor flooding. Now, I would be concerned, to the southwest, like Missouri, St. Louis, where we already have a lot of flooding going on and all this rain coming on through. But yeah, the flood watch is here. All the gauges are these green dots and green squares because there is no flooding ongoing at the moment. One river, the Red Cedar River in Lansing, tends to go out of its banks rather easily. There's no forecast for this, but as of right now, the flow is normal. So not even a high flow rate going on. The Grand River in Lansing, we'll take a look at that. It can handle a 7-foot rise before it's even into minor flood stage. Grand River in Portland, we're pretty solid off. We'd have to have like a 6-foot rise there. And yeah, this will all go downstream into Grand Rapids eventually. The Grand River, though, is, there's not a lot of water in it right now at all. So, yeah. I think for the most part we're going to be okay here. I just the flood watch again, flash flooding is possible, but if one city has a flash flood warning issue, that's not going to infect the whole river system, So yeah, we'll keep an eye on all of that for you guys. But let's go to a satellite loop again, because I want to make sure I get some comments. But this is Beryl right now. Right now, this is Beryl. So get ready for the possibility of those tornadoes in the areas that I was mentioning, because again, as you see, there's some sun coming out here. Sun helps destabilize the atmosphere. We also have what we call a low-level jet, and that creates a lot of shear in the environment. I can pull that up, actually. At least I think I can. Upper air winds. 850 height and winds. Oops, there we go. So these are the winds. they're going to cause the possibility for those tornadoes. So these are a little higher up in the atmosphere. 850 millibars, I think, is a little over a kilometer up. And anyway, these are hauling. They're going fast. Surface winds are not, so then you get that shear. It causes things to roll and tumble, and then they get knocked up on their side. And again, the Weather Prediction Center, in terms of excessive rain, we are under 2 days of excessive rainfall slight risks that we should look for. So again, there it is in Michigan for the rest of today. And there it is for tomorrow, which does include a little bit further north into the Saginaw Bay. So the yellow is a slight risk. That means if you were to stand somewhere, think of yourself as that little white table in the center of a pizza. At least I think it looks like a table. And the crust is a 25-mile radius around you. You have a 15% chance on that piece of pizza, if you're standing in the middle, to see flash flooding on that pizza, if that makes sense. So within a 25-mile radius of where you are, you have a 15% chance of seeing some flash flooding. Marginal, which is the green, is only a 5% chance, so it is significantly higher, 3 times more likely in the yellow area versus the green. And that's what we're going to be looking out for. It'll start later this evening and continue all the way into Thursday morning for some areas. Jordan, severe weather is not possible in Michigan. There's no cap. There's nothing like that. And yeah. Okay, so let's go back to here. I need another jolt of caffeine. Let's see, I'm on the European model. Cool, okay. Okay, this is called the NWS blend of models. And that's exactly what it sounds like. It's blended together. So I like this forecast a lot. It incorporates everything. Now I will say the part up here, this gradient might be a little tighter, so we might go from all to nothing in a much shorter distance. So the margin of error up here is a little greater. Margin of error down to the south into Monroe and Lenawee County, maybe even Washtenaw County is a little bit greater as well. But the center area, as you can see, over 3 inches is certainly possible. Not guaranteed. I think 1 to 3 inches is a really good rule of thumb. So 1 to 3 inches definitely going to be a good rule of thumb. And again, this starts later this evening, it continues through tomorrow, and then starts exiting Thursday morning. Let's see here. This is just showing the probability of rain, which is 100%, obviously. Seeing what else I can show y'all. We can look at the real-time analysis and see what's going on with some stuff. Maybe that's not showing a whole lot. So some areas, yeah, as you can see, Illinois, Indiana, 1 to 3 inches is a pretty good rule of thumb as well. In Michigan, you know, this is trying to poke up a little bit higher, but, you know, we'll see. Okay, so if you're on Facebook, this will repost. On YouTube, it'll repost as well. You can scroll through to find any information you need. TikTok, folks, you'll have to go to my Facebook or my YouTube page. Again, Brad.Sugden, or just search Brad Sugden. It's the same everywhere. I think I have the links in my TikTok bio for YouTube and Facebook and all that you can click on. So basically, once I end this live, it'll post as a video, and you can just scroll through to get the information that you need. I will likely be doing another one of these a little bit later tonight as well. It's not very often we get the remnants of a tropical system impacting Michigan. We do get them. It's just not super often. So we'll be walking you through this, and then of course I'll be live tomorrow a couple of times. We'll be watching floodwaters and stuff like that and keep you up to date as well. So thanks for following along. Subscribe. Don't forget, I do have a Patreon now. And the Patreon, whatever you want to call it. I will be posting a lot there. There's different tiers. They start at 99 cents for just your forecast stuff to come on through. If you want stuff about climate change, it is just slightly more expensive, but it's drilled down to how it actually impacts you. I just want to give a little spiel right here for everyone that's left. I am not working for the news anymore. I am independent. I am certified by the American Meteorological Society. I've won numerous awards in television, and that's not just for doing TV things. That's for knowing my stuff and presenting information and having a reputation that is, worthy of, let's just say, not like a lot of other pages you probably follow out there. So I have the credentials. I have the knowledge. I'm not affiliated with news, television, none of that anymore. Everything I say is unfiltered, unbiased by them. And yes, I have been told to hype things up in the past in television. I am not doing that here. It's going to be straightforward. And yeah. So if you want to support me, I really appreciate you all. I thank you a lot for that. And we will continue Brad Sugden weather in the digital universe now. All right. So thanks for that, and I will see you on one of my future lives. Follow along, and I really appreciate everyone's time.